Hello, my name is Nigel Griffiths. I work in IBM Power Systems Europe, particularly on AX and Linux. This is a personal project of mine rather than my day job, so it's best if you contact me with nigelargriffiths@hotmail.com. You can find all the details at the tinyurl.com njmon. This is the fifth video in the series. We're going to be doing our first nmon graphs. To do that, we use a browser to get to Grafana, then we'll select the data, decide what the graphs are going to look like, and you'll find it's very easy once you get over the first couple of graphs. So this is why we got a video. A little reminder of what's going on. On the left hand side here we have the njmon data collector. That we inject the data in JSON format, that's what the J means in njmon, into the InfluxDB time series database, and Grafana gets the data out of that. Going to assume you have a copy of the software installed already. Either you follow the instructions from the website or you watch the videos. But we're going to use njmon on AX or Linux or the virtual I/O server. We're going to use some software that's on the website as well. The injector, that uses the Influx Python client to inject the data into the Influx database. Then Grafana extracts the data out of the database. InfluxDB and Grafana need to run on Linux, so that's the easy way of doing it. And I've used Ubuntu 18 and Rails 7.6. Those can actually be running on an AMD 64, some people call that the x86-64, or on Power 8 or Power 9, or it's known as the PPC 64LE processor. I've done all those combinations and they all work fine. So in my browser here, it happens to be Chrome, and I've gone to the Grafana machine, hostname, and :3000, and we'll log in. The default is admin. You should really change that to saying here, but I'll skip that for demo purposes. Now I've already done some work in here. My first dashboard, it's given me the facts here that we've installed Grafana. Well, of course, we're actually talking to it. Created my first data source, we've done that, and I created the first dashboard. We're going to recreate that first dashboard now. So we're going to go over to here, dashboards. Here we are, create dashboard. That's what we're looking for. Now I'm a visual thinker, so I like to choose what sort of graph. The order of these things suggests that lots of other people will actually want to choose the data first and then decide what sort of graph they want. But let's have a look at some eye candy in here. So here's our first graph. We've got regular graphs and bar charts and things. We have single stats, which is just a number in a box. We've got some gauges and all sorts of things in here. I've added a few extra plugins in here that I like for pie charts, etc. But let's just pick up a regular graph. And so it's given me some options in here. Now let's go and get the data. So there is a default place to get the data. If you've only got one InfluxDB database, well, that's going to be the default. But we can actually explicitly name one in here. And then we've got this sort of query, and this can be done by hand. If you go in here, and you can actually type in the details, or we can actually do it in a more simpler fashion in here. So we can select a measure in here. We'll look at that in a minute. First thing to do is select which machine you're going to get the data from. So let's go host, and I have one called Silver 5. So now it knows this is actually an AIX host, and when I press on here, it's going to show me only the details, the stats that are available from that host. We're going to quickly go into CPU physical. If we scroll down here, you can see all the other sorts of things that are available. But we're going to go for CPU physical total. That's good. Right, now we're going to ask in here, it's going to say, well, what value in here? Well, these are utilization numbers, so we're familiar with user, system, idle, and wait, aren't we? So let's pick up user in here, and we can type in, by default, it will actually select a name, but we can give it user %. That's it. We've got enough there to do a graph. We'll actually say go back now, and we've got our graph. Now you might say that looks a little bit boring. This happens all the time in Grafana. It means that we're actually looking up here the last 6 hours, and the data that I collected was it last week or something? I don't know. So what we're going to do is drill out, clicking on here and say let's look at the last 30 days worth of data. Oh, there it is. There's the data we collected. If I actually scan over that, click down with the left and then drag and then let go again, now we're drilled in, and so we got a graph. Excellent. But of course this is utilization. We've got some other stats in here, so I can either hover over this and hit the E letter, or I can go in here and click edit, I can actually add some. That's the user number. Why don't I add some more? Now I could have tucked all these things again, or I can go up here and this little duplicate sign in here. Say duplicate, and I'll scroll down and I'll pick up system, and in here type in. Try again, system, and I'll actually do another one of those and change that to weight, and change the name again. Okay, and I'll select another one in here, and you probably guess what I'm going to do. We got idle, haven't we? So we'll type here, idle in here. Okay, so that's good. You can see the graphs building up as we look at that. We'll come back out of here. One point little thing, you can grab this little button here, this little arrow in here, and you can make it bigger. Okay, so we got some graphs in here, but then we suddenly realize actually these all add up to 100%. They're not like independent, are they? So we actually want these sort of stacked one on top of the other, and we're getting up with a line at 100%. So let's do that now. I'm just going to hit the E letter, go back in. This is the data, this is the graphing, and we've got a little button here called stack. So we'll click that, and wow, look at that! They're all one on top of the other. Of course, some of them have very small numbers, so we can't actually see them on this graph. But that's much better for what we wanted. Also, there's a classic problem that we're taking snapshots once a minute. In between the minutes, the Grafana doesn't know what's going on. It could be random noise in between those two things on our graph, but we know they sort of tend to change slowly over time. But we could put in here null values and say, if there is a bit of a gap, just join the dots up for us. So if there was an hour where we didn't collect any data, then it would just join, make a little straight line between the before and the after of that missing data. Okay, so let's come back out in here. This is looking pretty good. You can see the user, system, idle, and weight down here. Panel title doesn't look very interesting, does it? Especially if we've got lots of graphs with, say, panel title. But we can change the name of this. If we go into edit, we go down to this general down in here, we can change it. So this was, what was it, silver 5 physical total util. So we can have a nice little name on there. And if I click somewhere else on here, you can see it changes it up here immediately. And if we come out, we can say, okay, that's good, but we prefer actually system to be red. And it took me quite a long time to work out how to change this color. And then in a YouTube video, it just said, well, you click on the color and you select the color you want. So in here, oh, there's no system term, so we can't actually see it in here. Actually, if you hover over the graph, you can see I'm actually near the user line. So the user percentage there, 44%, that's darker. If I hover over a different one in here, that's the user up in here. System, yeah, is in here on red. But the reason that's not displayed as red is that the weight is 0, so the weight line is on top of it. This is a fairly classic looking chart. We could perhaps put the idle in grey. We haven't got a grey in here. Okay, so that's over here, right here, something like that. Nope. Move it right over here. We'll come out. So we've got a grey for the idle. That's not a terribly interesting stat, is it? Filling up the top of the chart. Okay, some other things we can do in here. Well, again, I'll just hit E to get in here, and we'll go back to our graphs. There's all sorts of things we could do in here. Instead of lines, we could have bar charts, for example, and switch off the lines. It's actually showing the rising up to the line where the weight is now. You can actually see it. That's interesting. Or we could just switch that off. You don't get anything, but we could have just points. So these are just the actual data points themselves now. If we come out of here and drill in, you'll see you get a scattering of data points as it's fluctuating up and down. Perhaps we actually like those bar charts in here. Okay. Yep. Okay. Well, you can play around with these things. I tend to like the lines do the job for me, and we'll come back out of here. Oh, 7 days is it? No. Last 30 days. Yep, there it is. Okay. we've got our graph here again. Right, come back out. If you want to see the bigger graphs, we can just stretch it out and see more details there. Right then, let's make another graph. Add a panel in here, choose a graph. I'm going to go for a pie chart. This is actually an add-in, you have to install it. Very easy to do though, we'll look at that in another video. And then we're going to have to select some data. Again, I'll go to my AX data, host, and silver 5. Okay, now the measurement we're going to go for this time. If you sometimes you're scrolling up down trying to find things. If you just start typing in CPU, you can see it highlighting things. So if I do mem, there's the memory stats. We've got memory and paging. So we've got memory in here. In here we've got some various stats. For memory, I want to go for real free. There it is. And put in here free. And I'm going to clone that and put in here real in use. Okay, and in here in use. Okay, so if we then come out of here, we've got a nice little diagram in here. It got the actual numbers in here because you can't really read those off a pie chart. And again, free is green. That's pretty good colour, but in use, not a good colour. Let's go for a nice bright red. That's gone. That's busy. So you can see this machine actually has lots and lots of memory in here, and mil for million. Okay, and again, pie charts look better if they're in a little square box, and we can move these things around. And if we squeeze that one down a little bit, it will do space management for you. So you can see things in here, and that's not right, is it? So we'll edit that. Put it in general, and so memory use. Escape to come out, and we've got another little graph in here. Let's do one more stat, a different sort of one up in here. Single stat, which is just for displaying a number. And we'll go and get the data. Again, we'll select where we want to get the data from. That drops hints about what data it should be showing us when we press this button. In here, we've got CPU Util, and the value in here, current megahertz. Okay, and we'll put in megahertz down here. Now it's going to give us a single number, so we could do an average. That's a mean, I guess. Over here, if it's a static number, it'll be the same number anyway. But if we're watching it live, I actually just want to know sort of the current number rather than the mean. So if I go in here and remove the mean and pop in here, I've got some other things. There's all sorts of counts and things we can do. We could do a sum of them. Well, that doesn't make much sense. But in here we got select last, so that'll be the last one in the data set that we're looking at the moment. So if it's current, this will be the current one. Okay, we'll save that. Rather a big box, it gives it as default, but we should make it a bit smaller. Again, perhaps we should put in a title there, general. Megahertz doesn't need any more of a description. And then we can sort of move that over here, and then we can have a series of them around in here. Perhaps things like the number of CPUs and the number of SMT threads and all sorts of things in here we can put out. That's a stat. We could also do strings, so we could say the full host name or the serial number or something out in these little boxes like this, which are fairly static. They're not going to change day by day, but it's good to see what they are. When you're looking at performance, you can see what the computer setup it actually is. Another type of chart we could draw is a text chart. So in here you could use this for leaving notes to yourself or to colleagues. The actual data is down in here, so we can see hash title is my notes or something. Could go in here, hash, and we could have 1, 2, 3, so we can have bullet points, and in here you can see how to put a URL to a link to somewhere else, so you can find more information here of what's going on. And so that's good for leaving notes for yourself and things. And again, that's a funny shaped box. Maybe we'll actually want it to be sort of this shape about here, and we could pop that down the bottom or something, can't we? It's not the most important thing we want to see on a daily basis. At the moment here we're using what's called the light scheme for the graphs. There's a couple of little things we can do. For example, if we edit this one here, hit transparent, there we are. We come back out and we can see the box has gone around it. It can make things look quite nice. More drastic, I'm told by the fashion gurus that the latest thing is darker interfaces. Let's save that. New dashboard copy. Yep, I'll do. So we're going to. It's gone to preferences. We see with the user interface theme is light. We can, as a systems administrator, set it to a particular one, but if we switch it to dark and save that, and then we come back out to our dashboards, we can see we now have a dark scheme, which if you're in a less bright room, it can be quite nice. There is a risk, of course, that you could fall asleep in front of the screen watching the graphs, but the option is up to you. Well, that's enough to get you started. One final thing, if you completely hash up your graph and you can't get it to work, you can remove it and start again. There's a couple more things in here with more. We can duplicate it if you want to try and experiment perhaps with completely different colors. I'm not sure if you want to go forward or go back. And we can export things, so we can actually save the dashboard as a JSON format information and send it to somebody else. Well, as I say, that should give you enough to try some other things. Of course, you've got other CPU stats, memory stats, paging stats, disks, networks, file systems, run queue, system calls, all sorts of things you now want to get going, and perhaps a load of these things in here for the configuration information, so when you look at it, a particular machine, you can remember what's going on. And the final thing I should tell you about is a whole bunch of things up in here. This is marking a favorite dashboard. That will make them appear when you get to home at the top of the list. We can share dashboards if you've got some friends. This is the important one, save your dashboard. Do this at regular intervals. If everything goes wrong, you can just discard the current one and go back to your previous one if you saved it. There's settings in here. This allows you to click through various modes. So it's taken off all the buttons at the side, for example, and then you go back. You're in kiosk mode, hit escape, it says, to get back. This allows you to change your time period or choose one for yourself. This one up in here is a zoom out. Remember, we can zoom out if we can't find any of the data. And this one does a refresh your dashboard. How do you exit? Down here and sign out. Help information and things down in here. And we'll go through these other ones in other videos that's coming up soon. That's enough to get you started. You should be able to experiment, make some nice beautiful graphs. That's one of the key powers of InfluxDB and Grafana. There are some more advanced features that we'll look in the next two videos. The next one is about templates. That means one dashboard where we can click a list of servers and change the same dashboard to look at a completely different machine in a split second. As usual, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I'll carry on and make more. Don't forget to subscribe if you want email to tell you when another video has been released. Bye.